Today, I'm crossing Slovakia from Bratislava to Kosice, 5.5 hours of rolling countryside, rivers, and proper long-distance train vibes, but with a twist. I was promised a full lunch in the restaurant car. Except the restaurant car decided not to come to work, so I'm riding hungry with nothing but protein bars and water. Gourmet? Not today. Scenic? Absolutely. Hungry and very excited? Let's get going. Come along! Hi and welcome to Bratislava Central Station. You can get here by tram, bus, trolleybus, car, and of course by train, which feels like the most fitting choice, doesn't it? Although trains arrived in Bratislava in 1848, the station you see today dates back to a major reconstruction in 1960. That's when the large fresco above the departures board was added. It's positioned so you can't miss it, even if you try. There are also ticket offices and machines, a few small shops, and at the very end of this corridor, a waiting room. But the best part is outside, on the platforms, where we can do a little bit of train spotting. Being a busy station, currently operating over capacity, there's always something interesting to see here, with a mix of local and long-distance trains. My train is already at the platform, with a Class 350 electric locomotive at the head. These locos were delivered in 1974 to the then Czechoslovak State Railways. After the partition of Czechoslovakia, these locomotives stayed with the newly created ZSSK, or Slovak Railways. After a long career, nowadays they are used mostly on services like today's from Bratislava to Kosice. Walking along the train, something is immediately obvious. The restaurant car shown in the timetable isn't in the consist. Very, very bad news for my lunch plans. Did it call in sick today? Oh no. Anyway, here's my ride for today, a first-class car. Let's board! It looks cool with this 2+1 layout, doesn't it? And here's my seat, which of course I'll show you in detail in a minute. And with that, it's time for departure, and we're off on today's journey that will take us across Slovakia, from the banks of the Danube to the banks of the Rant, skirting the foothills of the Tatran mountains. And as usual upon departure, here's today's trip map. Our first stop is Bratislava Vinohrady, where Vinohrady literally means vineyards. This unassuming halt is actually a key junction where two lines split on their way out of Bratislava. On one side, the one we're on, the tracks head toward Trnava, Zilina and onward to Kosice, while on the other, they peel off toward Nove Zamky, Sturovo and the main border crossing between Slovakia and Hungary at the Ipel River. being a junction is why there's such a mix of traffic here, with not only local but also long-distance services calling at Vinohrady, as passengers can conveniently transfer between lines without having to go all the way back to the main station. On a more personal level, I've always enjoyed junctions. They are the places where railways reveal themselves as a network rather than just a line from A to B. There is varied traffic in all directions, passengers connecting, and in general, junctions tend to be beating hearts of rail networks. And what about you? Do you also enjoy watching the traffic at junctions? Up there, perched high on the hill, the much-storied castle of Trencin signals that we're arriving at the city of the same name, 124 kilometers and a little over an hour after leaving Bratislava. Trencin has around 55,000 inhabitants and is one of Slovakia's oldest settlements, with traces of occupation stretching back more than 2,000 years. It's also a junction with the branch to Vinohrady, destination of the Class 813 diesel multiple unit departing from track 1. For us, it's just another brief stop before continuing toward the foot of the Tatran mountains and ultimately to Kosice. Time now for today's train tour, and while we're at it, a quick word about the missing restaurant car. I'll add labels on the lower left of the screen, showing the available classes of accommodation on board as we pass them. The timetable shows a dining car, so I skipped lunch in Bratislava, hoping for a proper meal while soaking in the lovely Slovak countryside. I'm sure other passengers have the same idea. There's a minibar on board, but the offer is very limited and nowhere near enough for a full lunch. Of course things break, I get it. Rolling stock fails and sometimes a replacement isn't readily available. That's understandable. What's less acceptable is not informing passengers in good time. If an advertised amenity is out of service, passengers should be notified by email, SMS or station announcement and be offered the choice to continue the trip, move to another service or rebook for another day, ideally without any extra charge, given that it's the operator's fault. That kind of communication is basic courtesy, basic customer service, and it would have saved me and certainly others 5 hungry hours. The train itself, as can be seen in this train tour, is fine with comfortable seats in both first and second class, decent rolling quality and a quiet ride. Everything works and the views are fantastic. It's just hard to enjoy it when we're running on protein bars and water. And well, I'm fortunate to have the protein bars, just because I usually carry them in my backpack. Others aren't probably so lucky. I'm already daydreaming about Kosice and that fantastic rooftop restaurant overlooking the square in front of the station, hoping that it's open when we get there. But honestly, traveling on an empty stomach is never pleasant. And with that little rant out of the way, we're arriving now at Zilina, the largest city on today's trip. With a population of around 80,000, it sits at the confluence of the Vai and Kizuka rivers and serves as the gateway to the Malafatra mountains just to the north. Zilina has long been a regional industrial center, and today it's also known for its university and as the home of Kia's car plant, one of Slovakia's biggest employers. For railways, this is where several lines converge, including one from the Czech Republic and Poland. For us, it's another brief stop before continuing our trip. Time now for today's seat tour. It's a comfortable seat with a table, 220-volt power sockets, reading lights, coat hooks, and blinds. Overall, it's a nice way to travel between the two largest cities in Slovakia. After a long run through fields, rivers and forests, we're almost at the end. Our last stop before Kosice is Kosice, about 16 kilometers and a little over 10 minutes from the finish. Kosice is the kind of place that looks quiet but matters on the Slovak network. Here, a line of roughly 100 kilometers branches off and heads north toward Poland. From Kosice, the track eases gently toward Kosice, the light softening as the day draws in. With the sun already low on the horizon, we arrive in Kosice right on time at 5:53 p.m. after almost 5.5 hours from Bratislava with no restaurant car, so no lunch today. Impressions of the trip? The good stuff first. The car is comfortable, clean, and the ride was quiet and with good rolling quality, and the scenery, well, that's the real highlight here. I showed you a big chunk of it today. River valleys, rolling hills and mountain foothills that make this route endlessly photogenic, but if I were to show you all the scenic parts, then this video would be over 3 hours long. This is how beautiful the landscape is around the line. The downside, and it's a real downside on a lunchtime departure, was the missing restaurant car. The amenity matters on a trip that spans lunch and tea time. A small minibar is not a substitute. I want to believe this was a one-off. We saw several opposing services during the day, which had a restaurant car in the consist, so I suspect most trains were running normally. Still, better passenger communication would have made a big difference. Will I take this service again? Yes, absolutely. The ride is pleasant, the views are superb, and overall, it's a lovely way to cross Slovakia. I just hope next time the dining card shows up for work. Now, time to find that rooftop restaurant here at Kosice station and finally eat something proper. Is it open? That's a story for next week's video, where I'll travel in one of Europe's best night trains from here to Prague. Thanks for riding with me on today's journey all the way to the end. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share and drop a comment below. It really helps the channel grow and keeps these rail adventures rolling, always with a bit of history and technology. Thanks for coming along, and I'll see you next week.